The National Youth Orchestra of Canada is the country's premier training orchestra, providing a bridge to the profession for Canada's finest young musicians aged 16 to 28. Each year, musicians arrive in Kingston for an intensive 5 weeks of musical education and practice, and you can catch one of their free concerts this summer at the Isabel Bader Centre. Joining me today is Christy Gray, CEO of the National Youth Orchestra of Canada, and Ren Lamarche, who plays violin in the orchestra. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
So, Christy, let's just start here. What is the National Youth Orchestra?
The National Youth Orchestra of Canada is a training institute. We are 64 years old, and we have been training the top orchestral musicians in Canada for decades. Many of the orchestral players you'll see on stages across Canada trained at NYO Canada in their youth. Many of them now are faculty members for us in the summers. And it really is sort of the top level of orchestral training for the country for young musicians. If you think of it like sports, this is sort of like the Olympics of classical music. This is the very, very top musicians from across the country get into the orchestra each year. They train with us for the summer, and we typically would do a tour across the country, or perhaps elsewhere sometimes. And so it really is, it's sort of the cream of the crop, the best and the brightest of classical music in Canada.
The elite of
the elite, yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Ren, you are one of the elite.
Somehow.
Tell me about your involvement. I'm curious how many musicians are involved, and then tell me about because this is your first year being with this, is my understanding. How cool is that? How exciting is that?
Very, yeah. People speak very highly about it. It was something like faculty or just teachers overall would speak about it, and it was something that it felt a bit like a milestone.
Mm-hmm. And how many musicians are we talking about here?
Typically between 90 and 100 musicians each year.
Okay, so
yes.
that's a big group.
Yes.
How did it feel, Ren, when you found out that you were accepted?
I didn't breathe for a couple of seconds. My quartet was a bit concerned. I really didn't expect to get in, but it felt like a lot of pressure. I was very excited, but I was also very anxious.
Yeah, no kidding. We were talking just offset just a little bit about the amount of hours that you put into this. Talk about your training and the actual hours you put into it.
Well, I unfortunately am not very consistent with my practicing, but I sort of follow how I feel, and I think that's a really effective method for me. So instead of forcing myself to practice on the days where I can't focus, I will take breaks on those days and then focus a lot more on the days where I can. So some days maybe I don't do a lot, and then others maybe I do 9 or so hours. But on average, I try to do 3 or 4 or 5, depending.
That's real dedication. Wow. Christy, how are the musicians selected for this?
So it's an audition process that happens by video. The musicians have to send a video of their excerpts in order to get in. So these are orchestral excerpts, small pieces of a full work that are preset by our faculty. So Ren would have recorded herself playing all of the excerpts for violin. Our jury would have reviewed her excerpts and her performance. They're ranked, and then we would select the top for each instrument. So typically we would see between 300 and 500 auditions each year, and we would select, based on the repertoire that we were playing, we would select the top musicians to perform with the orchestra.
How many Kingston musicians are we talking about?
We just have 3 this year.
3.
Yeah,
Wow.
3
So this really is a big deal for you, Ren, to be part of this. Nice going.
3 violins
Congratulations.
too, actually.
Sorry, say again?
3 violins, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And we all know each other as well.
Now, one of the things is you're playing at the Isabel Bader Centre, which is known to be one of the world's premier performing arts centres. How big a deal is that?
For us, it's a huge deal to be playing in such a phenomenal environment, to be giving the experience to young musicians to play in a world-class concert hall is a really big part of why we're on the Queen's campus. It's a huge draw for musicians to be able to play chamber music and orchestral music to rehearse in the hall. And it's a big consideration for us to make sure we have an environment that's suitable for young musicians of this caliber, and to give them that opportunity. We are national, so of course we're looking at providing the best possible experience for everyone in the country. And yeah, we really want to make sure they get in the hall, they get a chance to play lots of times, and experience what it's like to play in a hall of that quality.
Nice. So there's going to be 12 free performances and then one, well, you tell me about it, one sort of grand finale, correct?
Sure. So we're doing a chamber music festival. It's a free festival that we're doing through June and July. So that's going until July the 4th. And so those are free evening performances at the Isabel Bader. They're chamber performances, so smaller ensembles, string quartets, that sort of thing. And then on July 18th, we'll be performing with the entire orchestra. So that's the opportunity to see the whole orchestra all together performing, and that kicks off our tour across Western Canada.
Nice, that sounds amazing. Rand, just really quickly, we have just under a minute here. How exciting must this be for you? Because you're one of 3 musicians. That's a pretty incredible thing to achieve as a young person. How exciting is it to be part of this?
It feels like an opportunity to really improve my playing. Like, I'll be surrounded by people who play really, really well. And I already feel the pressure to play well enough to be able to be in the ensemble with them. So as much as it is stressful, it's also exciting as a bit of a challenge to be able to not bring down everyone around me.
I'm sure you're just going to do amazing. Thanks so much to both of you for coming in and talking to us today.
Thanks for having us.